How often do you catch yourself thinking, I ruined it again. I shouldn't have reacted like that. They are pulling away. What did I do wrong? Yeah, that sinking feeling hits you. I'm too much, and somehow being too much makes me not enough for love. So you start making silent promises to yourself. I won't bring it up. It will just make things worse. I'll be careful. I'll be good. I'll keep them happy no matter what. Anything not to feel this guilt again. But what if those promises are the very reason you still feel stuck? What if I told you guilt isn't the real problem, and trying to avoid it might be exactly what's keeping you stuck? And here's the biggest mistake people make. The one thing that quietly embeds this state into your system, and the worst part, you're most likely doing it without even realizing it. And so are the people around you. Because when you finally share those thoughts, that guilt, fear, that voice whispering, I ruined everything, people usually say things like this: it's not your fault, you didn't do anything wrong, you deserve better. And while that sounds kind and supportive, it actually makes things worse because it locks the pattern in. Because now not only do you feel guilty, you feel guilty for feeling guilty. And you start trying to escape the guilt with logic, with spiritual quotes, with saving an enormous amount of content that walks you through why you deserve better. You try to walk yourself out of it. And while all of that is not bad in itself, it actually makes things worse. And here's why. I want you to listen really closely now. What you resist gets louder. And it's one of the core principles behind any psychological tool or technique is this: what you resist grows. And I've studied different methods from all over the world, different branches of psychology, different approaches. They can look very different on the surface, but they all have a few core principles that unite them. And one of them is this: what you resist persists. And this comes from analytical psychology, the school of thought founded by Carl Jung. Because the more you try to get rid of something, the deeper it digs in. And now here is the real twist. So pause for a second and just think, are you seeing how this plays out in your relationships? And let's be real. How often have you told yourself, if I was just less emotional, they would stay? Even though it feels like this is all about guilt, guilt isn't actually what you need to work on, because guilt is just an adaptation. It's how your system learned to cope with something deeper that's been off for a long time. It's not the root, it's the symptom. And if you only focus on guilt, you end up fixing the surface, not what's actually running the show underneath. And here is where it starts to shift. So what really needs to change? Just one relationship, just one thing needs to change. It's not the relationship with your partner. It's not the relationship with your parents, but it's the one relationship that's shaping up how you show up in every connection you care about. When you shift that relationship, everything starts to change. And honestly, this could save you thousands of dollars in therapy and years of being stuck in painful relationships where you're constantly walking on eggshells. Because let's be real, when your mind is spinning with thoughts like, I messed it up again, they're pulling away, what did I do wrong, I'm probably just too much, it's impossible to feel close to anyone. Because real closeness is built on safe vulnerability. And there is nothing safe about the way anxious attachment feels on the inside. So this relationship that needs to change, that affects everything, is relationship with fear. So now watch closely what is really happening. If any emotion goes unnoticed, when it is still small and manageable, it will grow and then will mask under a different feeling. Here is how it happens. Fear is what signals that something you care about feels threatened. And sometimes that fear is authentic, meaning, yes, something is actually at risk. Other times it's neurotic, based more on your past than what's really happening right now. But here is the issue. If as a child, you never had a safe experience of actually feeling fear, if no one helped you hold it, name it, and just be with it, then fear becomes something your system automatically avoids. Not because you're weak, but because you were never shown how to stay with it. Your nervous system simply doesn't have the space for it. And that's what we call an emotional container. Your capacity to feel something without needing to shut it down or numb it or immediately turn it into something else. And when your emotional container for fear is small, fear doesn't show up as fear. It shows up as urgency, as overthinking, as needing to fix something fast, as discomfort you can't quite name, but also can't ignore either. You don't even realize you are afraid. You just know something feels wrong and you need to make it go away. In childhood, when fear showed up, fear of disconnection, fear of rejection, fear of being left, it wasn't reflected back with calm, containment, or comfort. Instead, it was met maybe with dismissal. You know, when somebody says, don't be dramatic, maybe with irritation, like stop crying, or worse, silence, abandonment, emotional withdrawal. So the child's system learns fear is dangerous. Feeling fear means losing connection. And over time, these teachers, your nervous system, do not even go there. So fear is not consciously felt. It's suppressed or bypassed. And now prioritization shifts from staying safe to staying connected. Texting first, apologizing, over-explaining, people-pleasing, scanning for signs of rejection. People with anxious attachment do feel fear deeply, but their system doesn't register it as fear. It registers it as, I need to fix this. I did something wrong. They're pulling away. I need to act fast. So step 2 of what is happening here. The psyche searches for control. A child doesn't have the emotional capacity to understand that this is actually my parents' limitation, not my fault. So instead, the psyche does what helps it survive. It translates fear into guilt, because guilt gives even a tiny sense of control. Maybe I did something wrong. If I'm good enough, quiet enough, easy enough, maybe they will love me again. And step number 3, this is how guilt becomes the illusion of influence. Guilt is the psyche's way of saying, if it is my fault, then maybe I can fix it. And that feels easier than facing the truth that sometimes you were powerless in the face of rejection, emotional coldness, or chaos. Guilt offers a role. And for the anxious attachment system, any role feels better than being helpless. Step number 4, the fixation. As you grow up, the survival strategy hardens into a belief. If someone pulls away, I must have done something wrong. If I'm hurting, it's because I was not enough. So every time fear shows up, instead of feeling it and recognizing the external trigger, your system goes straight to guilt, and you make yourself the problem over and over again, because that old wiring says, it must be me. I notice fear in anxious attachment doesn't just turn into guilt. It shows up in all kinds of ways. You start trying to control everything. If I don't fix this, they will leave. Or you go into people-pleasing mode. I'll just be easy and agreeable so I don't lose them. Sometimes it's obsessive overthinking, replaying every word, every text, trying to figure out what you did wrong. You replay that one text message 14 times, and each time with a different ending in your mind. And with each replay, you feel just a little bit more responsible for what happened. And other times, it's just numbness, telling yourself, I don't care anymore. When deep down, of course, you really do. So what to do? What do you actually do? I'll be honest with you, the fastest way forward is creating an experience where your system can process fear safely. Because right now you don't have that, because you've never had that. Your goal isn't just understand your attachment style. It is to create a secure experience in all 3 centers: your mind, your feelings, and your body. And that is actually can be done in one session. I structure sessions to engage all 3 centers at once: your thoughts, your emotions, and your body's responses. And this makes it 10 times more effective than just traditional talk therapy. Because we don't just talk about the pattern. We go straight to the root and give your system a new experience it can finally feel safe in. Fear doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're too sensitive. It doesn't mean you're unstable. And it definitely doesn't mean you are unlovable. It just means your system is trying to protect you. It means connection has felt unsafe before, and your body still remembers that. And once you've had that experience where fear is finally felt and held safely, your system starts to recognize fear before it turns into anxiety, before it becomes guilt. And those two, guilt and anxiety, are the signs you missed the window where fear was still manageable. Look, I know everyone has a different starting point, but if you've been working on your anxious attachment for more than 6 months and you're still not seeing significant improvement, and something is off. You're either doing it too slowly, like you're working with something that is on the surface, instead of going to the root. The fastest way to shift anxious attachment is to create an experience where fear feels safe to be felt, not talked about, felt. I want you to hear this, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. Don't waste any more time living in a state where love feels unsafe, distant, or like something you have to earn. You deserve access to real, grounded, fulfilling connection. And the sooner your system feels that, the sooner everything starts to change. And if you'd like to find out whether this approach is right for you, send me a message and I'll walk you through how it works and help you see if it's the right fit for where you are right now. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe if this spoke to you. It helps more people find this work, and it also encourages me to keep creating content like this for you. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video.